Hello, my name is Stephen Wright. I'm a career coach here at Career Mentor, and we help high-performing financial services professionals make their next smart career move. So what can the theatre and the military teach us as we prepare for our next job interview? In a word, rehearsals. There's quite a lot that goes into rehearsals, and what we want to do is to learn from these things so that we can prepare as best as possible and present ourselves in the best possible light as we go into our next job interview. There's several points to go through. Let's go through them now. The first thing is that we need a plan. Now in the theatre, that's pretty straightforward because we've got the play. In the military, the operational commanders will work together and come up with the plan for the operation. From our perspective, we need to create our own basic plan. And essentially, we need to gain as much understanding as we can about what the interviewer is going to be looking for and prepare ways to illustrate how we match what they want. So we have promises of value, and we can also prepare examples of the things that we've achieved which we think are going to be relevant. We can also anticipate pretty obvious questions that may well be asked during the interview and therefore prepare the answers that we're going to have for them. So that's the plan and preparation. The next step is table read. Now, as I understand it, in the theatre, what happens is all the cast, including the director, will sit around the table with the play and simply read it from beginning to end. In the military, the commanders of the operation will hold what's called an orders group, and they'll use maps and air photographs and perhaps even 3D models to illustrate the ground that the operation is going to take place on. And then they will take everybody through from beginning to end, explaining exactly what's going to happen. Now, this is important because each individual will not only understand all the moving parts and how it will all come together, but also what their own individual responsibility is for the achievement of the overall result. From your perspective, as far as this table read is concerned, you can start to begin to practice saying out loud the promises of value that you have, the examples that you have, and answering the questions that you anticipate being asked. The next point, number 3, is rehearsals proper. And on the stage, it's exactly that. People get up onto the stage and the actors interact with one another. They hit their marks. They practice moving from one part of the stage to another. They start working with the props and so on. In the military, it also has, there is also rehearsals. It may start off really easy with no equipment, no weapons, just walking and talking through how people are going to move through the operation itself, and then the tempo will pick up. So equipment on, weapons, and also if the operation is to start is to take place at night, then we'll move from daytime rehearsals into nighttime rehearsals as well. From your perspective, you can make your rehearsals even more realistic by recruiting somebody to work alongside you. We can call this person the practice interviewer. You need to brief the practice interviewer with what the situation is and provide them with the questions that you want to practice answering. But you're making your rehearsals really as realistic as you can. The fourth point is that we know in the military hardly anything ever goes to plan. So we plan for contingencies. In other words, the contingency of what we're going to do when things inevitably don't go according to plan. And we practice those contingencies during the rehearsal phase. Also, from your perspective, you can ask your practice interviewer to ask you awkward questions that you don't particularly want to be asked, or surprise you with saying things or asking questions that you weren't expecting, just to add that extra dynamic into your rehearsals. Final phase is then the dress rehearsal. And in the theatre, before the big first night of the performance, they will hold a full dress rehearsal. Everything is practiced, the props, the lighting, the costumes, the interactions between the actors saying the dialogue. The whole thing is practiced from beginning to end. And pretty much the same sort of thing within the military, given the amount of time that you have and the operational security constraints. From your point of view, you want to be doing the same thing. So, for example, if you're going to have a virtual job interview, then you want to have your dress rehearsal done in a virtual way with your practice interviewer somewhere else on a device interviewing you in that manner. two additional refinements are you can, of course, record your virtual interview so that you can play it back and see how you could improve your performance. And also for your dress rehearsal, you may think about recruiting or changing the practice interview that you've been working with to add in an extra dynamic of uncertainty to the whole thing. By the time you finish with this, really two things should be apparent. First is you've done everything in your power to be as prepared as well as you can be prior to that job interview. And the second thing is this is hopefully going to increase your level of confidence because you've been through it several times. You know the sorts of things can come up. You know the sorts of things that can go wrong, and you've practiced for that. So you should be feeling pretty confident as you go into that important job interview. I hope you found this useful. Doubtless I've missed some points, and I'd appreciate any comments that you have in the comments below. I will also be putting the blog that I wrote about this in the comments below as well. And thanks very much.